4-striped skunk. 2 of them were videotaped previously about 3 weeks ago. Now we've got this group of 4 that are out in a larger cage. They're outside all day and sheltered from the rain and things like that, but they are still out here getting acclimated to the outdoor temperatures and learning to forage for food. They will be in a slightly larger cage soon, outside, and eventually will be released in probably another couple weeks.
The reason why we think it's important to treat everything that comes in is that everything that comes to us was, as I mentioned earlier, brought to us by somebody. So because somebody cared about that animal, we think that that's important for us to do what we can for it. Really, in some ways, this organization is as much about people as it is about wild animals. That's part of what we do, is we model compassion. A lot of the animals that come in here are actually brought by families. At the end of the day, if you sit out here, you just see family after family after family coming in. And the parents are really showing those children, teaching those children about compassion. And then also teaching them about living a little softer on the earth. And I think, you know, when you asked earlier about what we advise, in terms of going forward with protecting animals, I think that that's one of the things is to live compassionate lives and treat animals with the same kind of compassion we treat each other.
This is our snapping turtle about 8 weeks after he was initially repaired. His shell was repaired here, and again there were 3 spots on the jaw that were wired. And we're ready today to go ahead and remove these wires. Once we do that, we'll keep him in captivity for another couple of days and monitor him and make sure that he's doing well, and then he'll be released shortly after. Now we can see that our sedative has taken effect. Turtle's pretty sleepy, still, awake enough to kind of pull back his head just a bit, but enough that I can at least get this wire on the shell removed. It's healed in place, at least right along here and kind of out by the edge here. I think it's just a little bit, not completely filled in because there's a bigger gap there, but it's healed quite well. A little more sedative here, and the turtle is sleeping a little bit better. You can see there's 3 sites that we can see up close now that he's sleeping a little more. Right here and here on his mandible, and then up here on the maxilla, the upper little beak area, there's another fracture. And all 3 of those were wired. We're going to go ahead and remove those today as well.
After about, I think, 2 or 3 months at the rehab center, the Coyote has arrived down at Carpenter Nature Center. He'll be here for about 2 or 3 days, just letting him get acclimated to the outdoor weather, all the sounds, smells, that kind of thing that he'll be seeing when he gets out to his release site. So he's just here getting acclimated, and then in a couple of days we'll be taking him up to Forest Lake, somewhere around the area where he was found. Coyotes are pretty high stress. Being in captivity isn't a great thing for them, so we've tried to get him through the whole process as fast as we can. This is why we've kind of shortened the acclimation process for him, because he really is ready to get out there and run around and be away from us. So this is kind of just him saying, I'm ready to go, get me out.
Now, one once the injured and orphaned mammals have been initially examined and temporarily treated, they will end up in a place called the mammal ward. They will remain here until completely healed and the treatments are finished. At that point, the veterinarian will authorize the release of the mammal. Now, some of the mammals, generally the larger animals, such as foxes and coyotes, they will be escorted frequently to a place called the exercise room, whereby they will be free to roam for a period of time before returning to their cage. And finally, we have the isolation ward. This ward is generally reserved for the mammals who are disease-ridden or sickly. It is crucial they remain in this room and isolated from the other animals so as to prevent the spreading of disease. Here, these animals will be monitored closely, treated in the hopes of healing the animal before its release.
We take animals just before they're ready to be released down to the Carpenter Nature Center, where we have this long run here for the foxes. This gets them acclimated to the weather outdoors, to all the sounds that they'll usually hear out in the wild, like birds and raccoons, geese, that kind of thing. So it gets her more room to run around and get acclimated to her, what will be her natural surroundings before we release her. Our next step is taking her up to Stillwater, where she was found, and releasing her in a wooded and grassy area. Red foxes prefer both prairie and woodlands, and you will usually stay on the margin so they can go back and forth between the two areas. She's been here for about 5 days, and that's pretty good because she is already very fit and ready to go and has been in an open room running around for a while. So she really just needs a few more days to get used to the weather before we completely turn her loose.
We have 2 blue jays in here, which separate situations, and neither of them were able to be released because they decided that they liked people more than other birds. So we can walk in here. Definitely makes you feel like you're Dr. Dolittle with the animals. So they're very fun. Flight room situation where all these birds on that side are going to be released, and we have the pine tree and the other perches and kind of a little bit of ground shelter for them to make them feel safe, and so all of those birds are in the process of rehabilitating and hopefully will be released soon.